It's time to delve into those underwear drawers. And it's something that we use every day, but it's often overlooked. So, in today's episode, we're going to talk about decluttering, organizing, and storing your underwear.
You're listening to the Declutter Hub podcast, bringing you tried and tested, no-nonsense tips and advice from the leading experts in decluttering and organising your home. Now here are your hosts, Ingrid Jansen and Leslie Spellman.
Hello and welcome, listeners. I'm Ingrid.
And I'm Leslie.
If you're new to the Declutter Hub podcast, you're so welcome. What you'll find is that we try and find a fun factor in the serious business of decluttering. And if you've been here for a while, you know exactly what we mean. So thank you so much for listening.
If you'd like to get involved in conversations relating to this podcast, it all takes place in our Facebook group. So come and join our lovely, warm, supportive community. To find the Facebook group, go to declutterhub.com/group to find out more. Or you can search for the Declutter Hub community on Facebook.
Now, Leslie, in today's episode, we're talking about underwear, but I think we need to first clarify what we think underwear is, because you and I have completely different ideas about what underwear is. We found out when we were like getting ready to talk about this subject.
Well, I suppose this was all about your underwear drawer, really. And I think that where my head was going was what's in my underwear drawers. And in my underwear drawers, as well as like pants, knickers, whatever you want to call them, depending on where you are around the world, underpants, some people call them. I also have socks and tights kind of in my underwear drawer as well. So I would vaguely think that underwear might have socks and tights in it, but I know you were a little bit anti, very kind of no, socks and tights are not underwear. And we have, to be fair, done loads of podcasts on socks before, so I might just mention tights, but I won't mention socks.
It was just so funny because we started off and you were like, well, we need to talk about socks. And I'm like, well, why do we talk about socks? Socks is not underwear. And you were like, yes, they are. And I'm like, no, they're not. I think maybe because in my house, they're in different drawers. Same bedside table, 2 drawers. So they're very close together. But I don't know. I've never seen socks and tights.
You're
as
very
underwear.
rigid, Ingrid. You're very rigid. It's underwear. Underwear is things that you wear under normal garments, right? So under, a bra goes under, socks go under, tights go under normal things.
I know. It's just, I just love it that we kind of have different ideas about similar things. But anyway, we've decided, can I conclude this, Leslie? That
well, you say that you've decided. You say that we've decided, and we haven't, because we are going to talk about socks later on. And so we haven't decided. So we're going to actually talk about socks and tights. And so you decided, but I've overruled it. And so now we are going to talk about socks and tights. So,
okay, right. Okay. Socks and tights and underwear. But now I think we need to do some terminology here, right? Because a lot of people here in the UK call underwear or underpants knickers.
Yeah.
But I know some in other places they call them panties or underpants, or I mean, there's different terminology. And of course, we know you lovely listeners, you're all over the world. So we want to kind of clarify this before we get started, because you might go, what are knickers? I don't know what knickers are. And bras, we kind of use the word terminology bras all the time. Is that kind of a worldwide thing?
I think so. But let's not exclude the men here, Ingrid. We have got people wearing things other than bras and knickers, and indeed men may also be wearing those too. But in general, we have boxers,
slips.
What's a slip?
Is that like a tight underwear for men? Is that called a slip?
I don't know. But I think we would call men's pants the equivalent underpants or boxer shorts.
Yeah.
But then there are Y fronts and all those different tiny
Yeah.
things. So they all come. I think it's fair to say that men's underwear is generally a little bit more straightforward and less of it than women's underwear, right?
Yeah, I think
I
so
don't mean
too.
less in volume. I mean less different types of it. This is complex,
I know.
right?
We're going into, my head's going into directions I don't want it to go to on a serious podcast, Leslie.
Exactly. So
Right.
basically we're saying there are different terminologies. So what we are talking about is things that sit underneath your clothing: bras, knickers, boxer short, potentially socks and tights, if we agree on that.
Yeah.
So that is what we are talking about today. And we are
Excellent.
talking about sorting out your underwear drawer.
Yeah.
So what we wanted to do was talk a little bit about emotions, because that's what we're all about here. We want to talk about the kinds of things that make you cling on to things unnecessarily in your underwear drawers. And then after the break, we're going to talk a little bit about storage, decluttering, and organization.
Yeah.
So that's the way it's going to run. So let's get started. Who knew there were emotions relating to underwear, Ingrid? Of course there are. There are emotions relating to every type of thing that we have in our house.
Well, and and I think that's already very interesting, Leslie, because you would just think it's just a bit of underwear, but it isn't, is it? There's a lot more to it than people might think at first sight. It's like, oh, well, just rummage through your underwear drawer, throw some stuff out that's kind of a bit, how do you call that, raffled and a little bit, falling apart. But there's a bit more to it than that.
There is. So I'm just going to share with the listeners what happened before we came on air. And so we have a little thing. So we have like notes that we kind of follow. We don't have a script, of course. Like, how can this ever be scripted, honestly? And so we don't have a script, but we do have some notes to kind of remember what structure we're going in. And we have some little reminders in there. So things like take a photograph, which we then may or may not put on our social media, in our Facebook group, and our Instagram and stuff. And so I said, well, it would be really cool, rather than it just being a picture of me and Ingrid on Zoom, it would be really cool if we kind of started to add in what we were talking about. And so I did try and get Ingrid to go and get a pair of knickers that she could hold up above her head and show on social media what we were talking about in this week's podcast. But she did not play ball, which is, I think, the first time ever that Ingrid, because Ingrid is quite gullible generally, and generally will do what I say with a little bit of guidance and coaxing. But today the knickers were not coming out.
I was like, this is a step too far.
I think it might be a step too far, to be fair.
Because I think also, Leslie, because my underwear is not very interesting. I'm very like the same. It's black, it's white, it's all a bit the same. There's nothing really spicy going on here in the underwear department. So I'm like, I'm not showing my big old white knickers to everybody on social media. That's not good.
But that takes us straight into the first thing that we wanted to talk about, which is your underwear, the underwear that you've got in your underwear drawer at the moment, kind of fit for purpose on lots of different levels? But let's just say, and we have people of all different ages here, but let's just say this, I think, is true. Generally, big generalization, the underwear that we wore in our teens and 20s is perhaps not the same as the underwear that we might wear in our 50s, 60s, and 70s, right? I don't want to generalize, because I know that loads of people are like, wrong, I absolutely wear the same types of things. But many people, our experience of working with lots of different clients means that they don't quite look the same. Those knickers don't look the same when you were 20 as they do when you're 70. Am I right, Ingrid?
Yes, I think we can do that a little bit. I think we should change that. I think we should start an underwear revolution, but that's a whole other podcast, Leslie.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, why am I so boring? Maybe I've fallen into a rut a little bit and go, well, they're really comfy. I like them. Let me buy the same one over and over again. They fit nicely. But maybe I should spice it up a little bit, Leslie. That would be really
yes, maybe this podcast is going to be start of an exciting new England. Jon will be happy. Let's just say that. But anyway, so what we wanted to talk about is the first thing we need to look at is we need a little bit of realism here.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can't really have our drawers chock-a-block with things that perhaps we go, oh, maybe one day I'll go back to that red lace frilly thong that I had when I was 22, because I really want to. And so we really need to look at that and go, okay, how many of those do we need, right? We're not saying give up completely, because that would be a bit sad. Ingrid, in fact, is going to go out and buy new this week. And so she's changing it the other way around. But in general, we need to be realistic. We can't fill our drawers with things that are not fitting our current lifestyle. And who's to say that your life doesn't change, right? And so this might change up, do we wear underwear for ourselves or do we wear underwear for a partner? This
Oh,
is a good
both.
question. This is maybe a bit
Both.
deeper than a decluttering podcast, is it?
I think definitely both. I mean, I had one of my clients who had really problem with arthritis in her hands, and so she found dressing herself and buying stuff for herself, and especially shoes was a really big bugbear. So she kind of overdid it on the underwear, because she was like, that's something I know that always fits me, that I like, that I enjoy. I got loads of them, and she had lots of choice. But I think if you wear, let's maybe the question is, Leslie, I think if underwear is nicely fitting, it's really important that we do it for ourselves and not
Yes,
for
definitely.
somebody else.
Yeah, definitely. So it's finding that balance, isn't it? Of course.
Yeah.
But whether it's for yourself or whether it's for somebody else, and obviously it's a combination of the two, it's really important that we are realistic about what we have in there and
Yeah.
whether it fits our current lifestyle. Bottom line is we can go out if our lifestyle changes all of a sudden, if we drop tons of weight, if we suddenly go into a relationship where we want to spice things up a little bit, we can go out there and buy new for the most part, right? Everybody
Hmm.
here who has clutter in general buys. Yeah, I've come
Yeah.
from a place of buying. So that is a possibility. So first things first, realistic about what your current lifestyle looks like in the underwear department, and
Yeah.
make sure that your underwear drawers reflects that. It's a bit kind of like deep. I think
I
it's
know.
quite deep. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. We as per usual we'll go off on a tangent, but I think it's really good and important to talk about this, because in the end, when you declutter and organize, it's all about making yourself feel good about yourself and your home, and it all works together. I think if you feel better in yourself by wearing good underwear that fits in within you, it's nicer to get dressed. So then you probably figure out better that maybe the tops that you wear, the trousers that you wear, fit nicer because you're wearing the right underwear over it. You know what I mean? I think it's
Yeah,
all
definitely.
combined.
Definitely. And of course, we have that thing. We talk quite a lot about things that we keep in our wardrobes that actually make us more down than if they weren't there. And so if you open your drawer and all you've got this beautiful underwear that you'd love to wear, but you can't for whatever reason that is, or you don't want to, then it's just going to make you a little bit more down, isn't it?
Yeah.
So perhaps it's better to kind of ditch it all and start from fresh.
Yeah.
So you've already alluded to practicalities in the fit of something. So we need to make sure, as well as something looking the right thing aesthetically, it needs to fit well. And so we've all got those things. I've got them. My weight's fluctuating quite a bit at the moment, and I've got bras that by the end of the day, they're fine in the morning. By the end of the day, I can feel that they're really tight on me. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I need to kind of ditch. But then we've got this thing added into the mix, this kind of aspirational type thing where we're like, oh, well, I don't really, it's actually okay. It hurts me a little bit, but if I just drop 5 or 6 pounds, then actually it will fit me. And so we keep loads of stuff for that reason, don't we? So fit is a big one.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is the right size, but it's the wrong kind of shape almost,
Yeah.
isn't it? You know what I mean? So everyone's got a shape of underwear that works well. And we really talk about pants actually and bras then for women. I can't really comment on boxer shorts, other than that men will want boxer shorts and stuff that fit well and are not awkward for sure and don't ride up. It's the same principle, is it not? I presume.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's the same for everybody, but we only have experience of wearing knickers and pants and not boxer shorts. But I think, we've got to make sure that it's the right fit. So I know what type of brief, then, let's call it, is right for me because of the way my body is. Yeah.
And with bras, Leslie, it's the size of your body, but it's also the bust size, and it's indeed what kind of type, because there's balcony ones and there's ones with wider straps and ones for more big busted ladies, and it's actually a bit of a minefield. I think maybe that's why a lot of people kind of put it off, because they're like, what I have isn't right, but I'm going to have to actually go to this measuring lady in the Marks and Spencers and book an appointment. And she's going to tell me maybe I'm like 3 sizes bigger than I thought I was going to be. But it's a bit of a faff. But I think it's worth it, because once you know what size you are, then it makes the shopping much easier. But it's a bit trial and error, isn't it? I mean, I don't really do balcony bras very well because I'm a bit big busted. So that for me, that doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's definitely about working out what's right for you at the moment.
Yeah.
And I think it's fair to say that when you're younger, you can probably have the opportunity to explore more. But as your body as you kind of grow into your body almost, perhaps we become a little bit more set in terms of what is going to work for us.
Yeah.
I think we also wanted to talk a little bit about the quality, about the color, right?
Yeah.
We wash these things repeatedly. Different people have got different ideas about how you should wash something, how often you should wash something. Do you wash it every time you wear it? I mean, obviously pants you wash every time, but bras, do you wash them every time or do you leave them a few days? And different people have got different ideas about that. And it's going to very much depend on your body and all those kind of things. But washing bras and pants means that they go through an awful lot of laundry. And so the quality of them deteriorates, doesn't it, over time?
Yeah.
But how often have we gone to clients, Ingrid, and we've looked through a kind of graying, elastic, kind of snapping drawer and tried to coax the client into going, I think it might be time. I think it might be time for these to go.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But
I
you
know,
just
like-
kind of get stuck in your ways, don't you? And you kind of just keep on going and keep on laundering and keep on putting them away. And you never give yourself a clean slate of pants. I know a lot of people, and I certainly mean this, is I will, like every, I don't know, couple of years, I'll go and buy a whole new batch and then make a decision to ditch some. And it's only then when you look and you're like, oh, yeah, there is quite a big difference between that white and that white. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think also the fabric itself, the elastic from it, it all starts to lose its shape and its elasticity. So I think it's something that because underwear can be expensive. It doesn't have to be, but it can be. It really depends on if you want to go for the nicer brands, if you want to go for something like, okay, I replace it a bit more. I buy a bit cheaper, but I replace it more often. That's also, of course, an option. So there's a lot of things to take into consideration in how you want to do it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the last thing that we wanted to talk about in terms of what's in your underwear drawer that potentially might go out of your underwear drawer, might get decluttered along the way, is we tend to find loads of, like, particularly for bras, right? We find lots of let's call them accessories or add-ons to bras. So for example, if you've got a strapless bra and it will come with, not all of them, but some of them come with an extra strap that you can put on if you want to. And so what we see a lot is that we see the accessories for the bra in the drawer after the bra is gone, right?
Yeah.
So you've got to keep an eye on those accessories as well, haven't you, Ingrid?
Yes, or it can be, it can even be the packaging. It can be some sort of shape holders, all these kind of random little bits and bobs. You think, I don't even know what these ones belong to, or like, wow, I remember, but that's left my house ages ago. But it's something because it goes into the depths of the drawers, kind of at the back, and we don't really look at that a lot. So when you're going to look and do this decluttering and organizing of your underwear drawer, have a look at all of those little bits and bobs as well, and see if you can declutter some of that stuff.
Am I allowed to talk about socks and tights?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Tights is a big one, right? Tights, socks, not quite so much. I mean, socks, we would rather that you tackle socks in terms of decluttering as you're doing your laundry. So we would rather that you look at those. And if you see a hole, which is really easy to see when you're doing your laundry, then it goes straight into your donation station at that point. Tights are a little bit more tricky because sometimes we've got to put the tights on to see the ladders in the tights, to see the holes in the tights, to see that they don't fit properly anymore and things like that. So tights is kind of, if you're a tight wearer, it's a big job to go through all those tights to try them on. So you've got two choices really. You can do a project, then a tight trying on project where you really go through and see what's fit for purpose, or you really need to get into the habit of making sure that every time you take those tights off, they don't just slope off into the wash and then come back. Yeah. And so tights is definitely something that you need to keep an eye on because they get pulls in them, they get runs in them, and you definitely need to keep on top of those tights when you're decluttering.
Yeah, and I think also we get tempted sometimes, Leslie, by like fishnet tights or really funky colors. And...
I'm worried about you, Ingrid. I'm worried about what you're going to be after this podcast.
Well, I don't have them, but
I've never seen you in a pair of tights in my entire life. I've never barely seen you in a dress.
I know. I think I've got about 4 pairs of tights, Leslie. But I think what I see in clients' houses is that there's green ones and purple ones and fishnets and they're like, oh wow, because they end up in the bottom of a box somewhere. It's like, I can't. That was a former life. I don't wear those colors anymore. The outfit that went with is long gone, and those are kind of easier wins then. But yes, if you have a whole stack of tights, just gently put your hand in and just see if there's letters or not. I mean, that's the first thing I think. Pull out the colors and things and then what's left, go, I'm going to just gently pull my hand in. If there's a letter, boom, it's gone. Because that will really help you get ready in the morning. Efficiency.
You know what's the most depressing thing in the world for me? So me and Leah wear kind of opaque black tights quite a lot because I wear dresses, and hers quite often get mixed up with mine. And so in the morning I'm trying to put tights on and like they'll barely go past my knees, never mind onto my body. If anyone's seen my daughter, she's like the tiniest thing is shit, and I'm not. And I'm like, oh no, I was like this when I was 20. So yeah, that whole mixing up of the tight situation, we've not got that quite under control yet with the laundry. So that starts my day off just mightily fine. So on that note, we'll go to a break and we'll come back after the break to talk a little bit about organizing your underwear drawer.
Hi, just a little break from this podcast episode to ask whether you are on a quest to declutter your home. The last thing you need to do is go out there and buy more stuff, right? We completely agree, but there are just a few small things that we truly believe will enhance your decluttering journey. A small number of products that we use regularly, believe in, and want to highlight to you. Have a look at declutterhub.com/products and find out what our favorite organizing products are. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Well, that podcast before the break went off in all different kind of tangents. Let's make sure that we now talk to you about organizing and storage of your underwear. So, Leslie, let's kick it off.
Well, it's tricky to talk about this without talking about something that kind of went crazy in our Reset Your Home challenge back in January, right, Ingrid? So anybody who wasn't part of the challenge, don't worry, well, you'll get the gist of it anyway. But all of a sudden, Ingrid pops into a conversation, the fact that she rotates her socks when she's putting them away. This was news to me that she rotates socks, because I am like, why would you rotate socks? Like literally, do not just put your socks in the laundry and then put them back in the drawer and then put them back in the laundry and put them back in the drawer. And it doesn't really matter about rotation, because to me, that's more about food and things like that. But oh no, Ingrid very much rotates her socks. So there's me thinking that it's some kind of crazy kind of Ingridism, Ingrid thing. But oh no, like at least half the people, no, actually, not half the people, many people came out in support of Ingrid to say that they also rotate their socks, so that the socks are worn in an even way, so that the socks at the back don't get left out and feel sad. Ingrid.
Hashtag sock rotators unite, I say. I mean, it went into a whole life of its own. We had a couple of days of so much laughter about it. It was just so funny. And then we had an Ingrid camp and a Leslie camp, and it was absolutely brilliant. But yeah, I do rotate my underwear as well, in case you were wondering. So underwear rotators unite, I say.
Well, my hashtag was keeping socks simple. So I'm also going to keep underwear simple, which takes us neatly into the first thing that we wanted to talk about, which was all about creating a system that is manageable for you. Okay, so the most important thing, let's cut out the sock rotators unite situation. The most important thing is that when you open your underwear drawer in the morning, you have things in there that fit you, that you want to wear, that you can see and that you can get hold of easily. That's rule number one. We need to keep these systems everywhere in our home sensible and manageable. And what you need to work out is what is sensible and manageable to you. Okay. So Ingrid's got her way of doing things, like rotators unite, a bit strange, but hey ho, I will let that go. I'm all about keeping socks simple. Same with knickers. As long as I can find my underwear where I expect it to be, then that's good enough for me. And you need to do that. Because what we find, and this is quite harsh really, is that we find in the decluttering world, a lot of people focus very much on things that are intended really for people who are very meticulous. So Ingrid is meticulous, okay, with the way that she does things. And what we find is that people are spending inordinate amounts of time rotating, folding, all of those kind of things, when actually we need to get the basics right first. Am I right, Ingrid?
Oh yeah. I mean, and I support that message. I mean, it's all about decluttering what you don't use, what you don't need, and only having your drawers what you can wear, what you feel good in, etc. And making sure that things go in the laundry, get washed, get dried, and go back in the drawers. Those are the basics. And you need to do that throughout your house in phases over time, in manageable chunks. But once you're past that and you're like, okay, now I'm ready to take the next step, then you can start to think about containerization, right? And we're going to talk about that as well, Leslie. And of course, then the next step after that is what I do, and that is indeed rotation of things. And I don't do it only with my food, but also with my towels, with my socks, and with my underwear. But that is another step more in the direction of being super organized. But I'm like, please, let's start with, let's have clean underwear. Let's have it in one place and make sure that you don't run out all the time of underwear to wear. You end up buying new and creating more laundry for yourself. That is, I fully support that.
Yeah, I think it's about focusing in areas that are going to make the most difference to you. And sometimes, even though aesthetically it's very pleasing and satisfying to have a drawer that looks beautiful, sometimes if all the other things are going astray because of that, then that's when we need to sort of rein things back in. But you do you, right?
Yeah.
Your choice. You want to rotate, you want to fold, absolutely up to you. We're not here to say don't do that, but we're here to say think about it, because we've seen it many, many times where people are like, look at my beautiful folded drawer, and then there's chaos everywhere else. And so, but if that's what makes you tick, then that's absolutely fine as well. So we really wanted to talk about creating a manageable system. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
It's important for your underwear to be accessible, right? And so, you know, we've been talking about drawers. Not everybody has got the benefit of having nice drawers. You can split things out, you can put drawer dividers in, you know, but the most important thing is where is your underwear, and is it easily accessible? Because this is something that we are going to be working with regularly, right? There's a big throughput of underwear, right? This is something that's going to get laundered every single week, as opposed to dresses and trousers and things that might only get worn every 3 or 4 months, you know? So it's very, very different. There's the sort of the regularity with which you will change these drawers over. So it needs to be something ideally at the right height, so you can work with those drawers, the right size, the right depth. So really think about the drawers and whether it's an accessible, useful space to you.
Yes, because if you've got your underwear somewhere and you've got loads of piles in front of that, it's a nightmare every day when you've got to move stuff out of the way just to grab some underwear. While this is something that you would do on a daily basis, you want it to be something that you can open and close without even thinking about it and having to move lots of stacks of stuff. And I think that's what's really important. And you don't want something to have an underwear on the top of a wardrobe somewhere. You want to have it probably on waist level or eye level, or not completely on the floor. If you have trouble with your knees and you have to bend over to get your underwear out of the lowest drawer in your house every day, that's not helpful.
Yeah, exactly. So accessibility, visibility is all really key. And we talk quite a lot about compromise, and this is where compromise comes in. So really evaluate what you have in your bedroom and look at which drawers you're allocating to which types of things, and really give your underwear drawers priority over other things that you're using much less often.
Yeah.
So we talked about containerization, right? And so sometimes if you've got a small drawer, that's containerization enough, right, Ingrid? I think that's what you've got. So you've not got internal containerization because you've got smallish drawers in your bedside table that you use for your underwear. And so that's small enough. My drawers are wider. So I've got wider drawers. So I have to subdivide those drawers. And this is where either drawer dividers or containers come in really well. Ingrid, do you want to talk about the different types of drawer dividers and containers that might work?
Yes, so you need to really think about this. If you're going to go for drawer dividers, then you need to really do some measuring. I mean, whatever container you buy, you're going to have to do some measuring as well. You can go for fabric containers because they're normally, IKEA, for example, have a range of fabric containers that are really easy with little zips. So you can collapse them out and collapse them to make them smaller, and they've got them in different sizes, and you can kind of build up on that. I would probably not go for wicker as containers in underwear because, of course, there's lots of times there's little straps or lace, or it's delicate fabric overall. So you probably want to have something that is a delicate container as well. So either a plastic or a fabric container, I would say.
Yeah, I think is it the scrub range from
Yeah,
IKEA? That's the one that a lot of people use. And the with the scrub range, which is really, really cost effective, there's loads of different kind of configurations of that.
yeah,
But I would, if you are a person who's not super meticulous and not folding or rotating, then the bigger container is going to serve you better than the
yeah,
smaller ones, which only fit a few in. So really think about the size of the container and what you want to do with it, because they always look fantastic, but you've got to think about how you're going to utilize that. You know, how
yeah,
is that system going to be manageable to you? And so that's really important. So quite often when I'm doing projects with clients, the little tiny containers will be the place where we put little maybe buttons or little bra accessories or things like that, you know, that you can just kind of throw in. So just
yeah,
really think about that.
yeah,
The last thing we wanted to talk about, Ingrid, was laundry, right? And so this is very reliant on a robust laundry rotation system, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. I think that's where a lot of the problems with clothing start, is when the laundry system is kind of rattling and not really, the throughput of laundry is not well thought through. So the problem is a lot of people struggle with clothing and have excess amounts of socks and underwear mainly, is because somewhere the laundry cycle, there's a holdup. So either stuff gets left in the laundry basket, or the laundry isn't being washed often enough, or there's not enough drying racks to have the throughput of people that you have in your house, or the dryer is broken and that's why things are falling apart. You know, there's somewhere along the line in the laundry cycle, there's a problem. Or the drawers are too full, so the things can't be put away properly and you get piles, and then underwear gets buried under other clothing, and then you can't find it. And then sometimes the panicky reaction is to go, I can't find any underwear. How can I not have underwear? I'm going to buy more. But the more you buy, actually, you're going backwards. And that sounds a bit strange, doesn't it, Leslie? Because we think, well, there we don't have enough underwear. We're going to buy more, so that will solve our problem. But actually, I think you need to think about your laundry cycle to see, where's the holdup? What's my problem here? And once you figure that out and you start to work on that a little bit, that underwear will come from everywhere. And suddenly you're like, I can't even believe how much underwear we have.
Because I think sometimes, because I keep my underwear to a minimum actually, and sometimes I can tell if, for example, I have a weekly reset, but if for whatever reason I haven't done that on a weekend, by the time I'm getting to 9 or 10 days, I can see that I'm starting to run out in my underwear drawer, and that prompts me to go and get my underwear from my laundry room and bring it down. And so, you know, less is more, really. I mean, you need to have enough underwear. Really what you need to think about is, what's the maximum amount of time that I go on holiday? Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So if you go on a 2-week holiday, you might change twice in a day. If you go on holiday, you might have one pair on during the day, and you might switch up when you go out in the evening because you probably shower. So you might need 2. So think about those kind of things. What's your cycle like? How many, you know, and in fact, you might go on holiday and you might have access to a laundry, so you might not need all those. And so it's really important to think those things through, but actually it's more the exception than the norm, isn't it, Ingrid? Because generally, you know, you probably only need enough for a week or 10 days or something like that. In your laundry, you know what I do, if you do have space in wherever you do your laundry, try and split up as you are taking things out of the laundry into, or at some point split it up into the individual people. Really interesting and really useful to do that. And then, you know, you're kind of halfway there, aren't you, as well?
Yeah.
So laundry is absolutely critical. Honestly, if there's one thing that is a problem in every single home that we visit, it is laundry. And so getting your laundry cycle under control certainly is one of the biggest things in our membership as well, Ingrid. You know, we say, get your laundry, and we've got a whole course on laundry alone, you know, talking about what your laundry basket's like, what's your cycle, what's your dirty cycle, your clean cycle, your rotation cycle. And it all sounds ridiculous because we just do it, don't we? But do we do it well? This is the question. Do we do it well in a way that's going to serve us and make sure that we have things in our wardrobe that we're going to wear? Because if we don't, that's when we go out and buy more, and it just adds to the problem. So something as simple as laundry is probably one of the biggest clutter problems in homes right around the world. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. See it all the time.
So, have we exhausted? No, we have not exhausted. We could literally talk for another 4 hours on underwear, couldn't we, alone? But I think we've given some great hints and tips there. We've talked a lot about the emotions relating to different types of underwear and really homing in on that realism. Are we being aspirational? Are we looking at the quality? Are we making sure that everything that we have is fit for purpose? And then, of course, some useful ideas about creating a manageable system, creating some storage. Maybe we've got to compromise. Maybe we've got to look again at the way that our drawers are configured in our bedrooms, and take it from there. So hopefully that's been useful today.
I know. I'm like, show us your underwear drawers. Maybe people out there are feeling brave and are like, yes, I am going to show Ingrid and Leslie a picture of my underwear drawer. So do share with us on our Facebook group. Everybody else is going to wonder, what's happening? Why am I suddenly seeing pictures of underwear? But yeah, if you're feeling brave, or if you want to show us your containers, we would love to know. Let us know. Now, next week, Leslie, let's talk about that. We have a guest. Jacqueline from Abdo is coming to tell us all about Spring Clearing Week. So more about that next week. Thanks everyone for listening.
Thanks so much for listening to the Declutter Hub podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to us in your podcast player so you don't miss an episode, and we'll see you next week.